Tonight, historic building at Waikato Hospital scheduled for demolition. More from Tauranga Mayor Stuart Crosby, and the Waikato Show is coming. Kia ora and good evening. Welcome to Central News on TV Central for Monday, the 30th of March. I'm Amanda Harper. In today's news, a fine totalling $26,000 has been imposed on a company that owns a Cambridge dairy farm found guilty of a range of offences, including illegally disturbing the beds of a watercourse and a stream and disturbing the bed of a wetland. The case, brought by Waikato Regional Council, mostly concerned events over 3 years from 2010 to 2013 at a farm owned by J&J Watt Limited near Leamington. The company also breached a council abatement notice in February 2014. Hamilton District Court was told that council staff inspected the farm early last year and discovered recent earthworks and soil disturbance in and around watercourses that ultimately led to the Waikato River. The company had previously obtained a resource consent to carry out recontouring works to produce easier and better grazing land for the farm operations. A gully in an erosion-prone area of the farm contained a small but locally significant wetland. However, Judge Craig Thompson found that the company didn't do what it was supposed to. Judge Thompson says via recently released sentencing notes that he was slightly mystified that the company sought and obtained an appropriate consent, but then completely failed to take into account of what the consent actually required. He says it was careless, inattentive and irresponsible in his view. Independent research into the police's recent summer road safety campaign shows the vast majority of road users found it easy to understand, despite criticism over reports of confusion concerning what speed thresholds were being enforced. The Safer Summer campaign from December 2013 to January 2014 featured a 2-month 4km/h reduced speed threshold and saw the lowest ever number of road deaths. Police repeated the campaign in 2014 and this year with a strong focus on speeding and other high-risk driving behaviours. Response and Operations Deputy Commissioner Mike Clement says in an effort to steer the public conversation away from a customary focus on speed tolerance, the 2014-15 campaign messaging was changed to remind drivers of the safety benefits of driving at or below posted speed limits. Mike says operationally the police approach was no different than the previous year. Papamoa capped an emphatic IRB campaign at the BP Surf Rescue New Zealand Championships near Dunedin, with the Bay of Plenty club retaining the overall points trophy in style over the weekend. The club's 32-point victory over East End was bolstered in the open teams race as Papamoa Crews finished first and second ahead of the Taranaki club. It's the first time Papamoa has won the team's race, although coach Justin Martin won it with Wainui in 2007. With premier driver Kirby Wheeler sprinting to victory despite a heavily strapped ankle, Wheeler says it's so hard to win the team's race, but to finish 1 and 2 was just such a sweet feeling. Justin had worked us really hard this year and it's all paid off. Papamoa dedicated their victory to 5-year-old Tauranga boy Jack Dixon, who was swept off rocks near Mount Maunganui 6 months ago. Martin was one of the first IRB drivers on the scene to help with the search efforts. Historic Hilda Ross House at the Waikato Hospital has been set for demolition due to an independent seismic evaluation required of public entities since the Canterbury earthquake in 2011. The 50-year-old building, used as temporary accommodation for people accessing several Waikato Hospital services, is to come down this July and will be complete by October next year. Built in 1963, the building was named after Dame Hilda Ross, who was a Waikato Hospital board member, Hamilton Borough Councillor, Deputy Mayor and Hamilton Member of Parliament. The building is at 15% of the current earthquake code, which indicates a relatively high risk, even though there is a low probability of an earthquake in Hamilton. And now for our region's weather. Hamilton, it will be fine tomorrow with light winds, high of 23 and low of 8. Rest of the Waikato, there will be some showers in parts. Paeroa 23 and 10 low, Matamata 20 and 9 low, Te Awamutu 23 high with an 8 low, and Tokoroa 21 and 8. And in the Bay of Plenty, Tauranga fine with light winds as well, high of 24 and low of 14. Te Puke, it will be mostly sunny, 22 is your high and 13 low. And for the marine forecast, on the west coast, Raglan, westerly 25 knots and rough sea, easing Tuesday afternoon to a variable 10 knots, moderate southwest swell at times. High tide is at 10 to 9 at night. East coast Bay of Plenty, southwest 20 knots, easing Tuesday afternoon, variable of 10 knots. High tide is at 5:27 p.m. Coming up in the show, a regional development fund proposed for the Waikato. Welcome back to Central News. The Waikato Regional Council are proposing a regional development fund as part of the long-term plan, a new endeavour. Paula Southgate and Vaughan Payne explain the criteria behind this and what the long-term benefits could be.
Well, this is a very exciting and a new piece of work, and it's one of the key pieces of work that we do want to get public feedback on. Where this came about is in the past, Regional Council has had to respond to opportunities of a regional economic nature in a reactive way because we haven't had any money. Things like the velodrome, for example, and cycleways across the region and other major infrastructure projects. Arising out of our conversations with the Mayoral Forum, we decided that it would be good to have some money available to develop to use for regionally significant projects. They have to be within the region, they have to drive economic benefits for the region, and at the same time they must enhance both the social environmental and cultural well-being of the region as well. And this will enable us, it's quite exciting from the point of view that it will enable us to be proactive about seeking partnership money from government, for example, for major projects in the Waikato.
And I've got a Bay of Plenty background, that's where I'm from originally, and I've seen this sort of fund work well over there. It's funded projects like aquaculture, enabling for small communities in Eastern Bay of Plenty, where there's certainly a philosophy in the Bay of Plenty. If the Bay of Plenty is to be successful, all parts of the Bay of Plenty need to be successful, and so it's a way of identifying priority projects that benefit the whole. And so in the Bay of Plenty there's been aquaculture that's been funded through such a fund, there's been education that's been funded, some forestry value add opportunities as well, so, and also marine precinct in Tauranga. So it's not like a fund to only support part of a region, it's a fund generally that benefits all parts of a region, not knowing what projects may come forward, but that's the concept.
And this has been a topic that has divided council. We're fairly diverse in our opinions on this, and that's why I think it's important to bring it to the public. What we're proposing to do is take a small amount of our investment fund return, set it aside and grow a fund for regional economic development. So it starts off around 480,000 in the first year, and it grows till the fund could accumulate as much as 18 million over 10 years, provided nothing was spent. And what that means is a small amount of the subsidy that would normally go onto the ratepayers will be diverted to economic development. Effectively, it's about 6 or 7 cents a week per household that we'd be taking aside and putting into a bigger picture for the region. Things that will benefit future generations, not just today's ratepayer. But as I say, wide range of views around council. Love to hear from the community. What do they think? Should we be helping Waikato region become an economic powerhouse? Are you happy for 6 cents a week to go towards this kind of work?
So you're predicting a bit of response possibly from the public about this?
Look, we're getting very positive response from the business community, but this is new thinking for the community at large. We have been involved in regional development for a long time. We manage water, soil, air, and those are all economic resources, right? So we've been there, but this is a new approach for the public to take on board. But, you know, there again, I said earlier, Waikato, great place to live, work and play, but that doesn't happen accidentally. And if we want to be a powerful place in New Zealand, we need to invest for the future.
And it's not a lot of money, but it does enable us to be at the table and help shape and influence some of the major projects that will impact positively on our region.
You have just 2 weeks to go to make your submissions. The Council want your feedback. Head to their website for more information. Tauranga City Council have released their consultation document for their long-term plan. Hillary spoke with Mayor Stuart Crosby to find out whether Tauranga will get its museum it's been waiting for so long.
There are 2 initiatives happening at once, actually, or possibly 3. So there is a group currently looking at a museum, and they've reported to us about their hopes, dreams and aspirations. But we also have a historical site called the Elms, and they too are considering doing a major interpretation centre. And there may also be a third one. So we've put all those groups together and said come back to us with a proposal. So I'm confident that within this decade there will be some form of centre that demonstrates our history to a very high standard.
The population is ageing. Big issue nationally, big issue internationally. Does this long-term plan take that into account?
Well, that's interesting, yes. The work done by Waikato University has demonstrated the world's ageing, New Zealand's ageing, and so is Tauranga. But on the other hand, recently in the last 12 months, there's been a lot of younger people come back to Tauranga from Australia and from all around the world, maybe because of the economy in those areas, and also it's a safe place to bring up a family. So we're seeing it from both ends. We're seeing younger people coming in as well as an ageing population. So what we have in our plans is to make sure that as best we can, we will intervene to make sure that there is a balanced population. Also, our ethnic mix is changing rapidly. So that's the third dynamic as well. That one is tremendous, but we're watching as well. So there's a lot of things happening with our demographic, but it is true to say that overall we do have an ageing population. So what we do with that is make sure that our city is geared for that, particularly with our housing stock, that there are more smaller homes available and cheaper homes, because most of our houses, a lot of our houses, well over 200 square metres, big homes, and as you get older you don't necessarily need all that space. You prefer to have a smaller home, free up some capital and enjoy life. That's my plan anyway.
Do you think there has been enough investment in this long-term plan into elder housing?
We have our own elder housing and pensioner flats, just under 300, and the private sector are delivering a large amount through retirement villages. It's interesting in Tauranga, the 2 growth areas are preschools and retirement villages, and a whole lot of in-between stuff as well. So yes, the private sector is addressing that quite strongly. We'll have to review the quality of our pensioner flats. Some of them are getting old, they're on high valued land, and so not in this 10-year plan or the next 3 years, but at some point we'll review that to see is that the best use of the land, and are we actually properly addressing the social housing needs in Tauranga City.
Events and event funding has been quite a topical issue for Tauranga for a little while. What's the LTP got in store for that?
Yes, quite a substantial increase in investment in events, from about $325,000 this year leading up to just under $1 million a year at the end of the 10-year plan. But more importantly, we're partnering up with the private sector who are matching that quite significantly. So we've gone from a pretty poor investment, in my view, in events in Tauranga City to quite a substantial event funding program. Also, though, but probably more importantly, we've developed quite a robust analysis regime where we test the value of events before we invest in them.
What does that involve?
It brings together a whole lot of metrics, and so we put in the machine the event and it pops out the added value to the city. And if it doesn't reach a certain threshold, we won't invest in it. And already we've turned down 3 substantial events because the promoter was going to make a lot of money but not much benefit to the city.
There was talk, and some people were hoping that Tauranga would become the event capital of New Zealand. Do you think that's going to happen?
You're starting to see that shift already. First of all, you need facilities, and so with Bay Park and ASB Arena, that's created an opportunity for more events to be held there, but most of our events are actually going to use our natural environment. And so some thinking now is what kind of portfolio of events will we support moving forward over the next decade? And I can see them around our water and speed. The jet sprints were classic. So we're going to have the World Championships, around the World Championships next year in our stadium. We have Wakarama here, we have rowing, we have yachting, we have sailing. And of course, the Ames Games, which is the biggest event in Australasia here in Tauranga.
Some funding has been put aside for the city centre. What are some of the developments that we can kind of expect to see in the next few years around the city centre?
So in our 10-year plan, we've allocated approximately $4 million for our waterfront and $4 million in our CBD. So on the waterfront, we have stages of that development happen. I think the next stage you'll see will be about providing physical access to the water. So we've opened up some green spaces, we've done the walkway, now we want to get people physically to the water, so it'll be via pontoons or something like that. With regard to the $4 million investment in the CBD, what we're seeing is a lot of redevelopment through the requirement for earthquake strengthening and some major new buildings being built here. So when they are built, we want to make sure that the public space, the footpaths and the streetscape can match that new development. So it's an incentive for people as well. So you come and redevelop your space, we will redevelop our space to create a great environment together.
People are talking about the CBD moving from retail into a bit of more of a business centre. Do you think that's happening now?
It has happened. We got an independent piece of research done, and it showed that business is the highest activity in the CBD, and that's quite normal, and that's what we'd like to see, is both business and arts and culture supported by the appropriate retail. So, our suburban retail centres are great, both in Mount Maunganui, Papamoa and Bethlehem, and a new one to be built in Tauriko. So they're supporting those communities, but the CBD was always going to go through that shift, and it is. And small business, medium business and larger businesses are coming back to the CBD, which is tremendous. Some of the buildings need to be either bowled over or renovated because they're frankly old. And so Trustpower have come back. The university is going to build a new building here, quite substantial, and we're also aware of other ones on the drawing board as well.
This is actually a good question. The earthquake strengthening stuff, has that been taken into account with this plan?
Yes, it has. We're looking at a rates rebate for those commercial building owners that are looking at renovating, and it's only during the period of the renovation. It's small, but it just goes to say that, look, we're thinking of you, and if there's anything we can do to help, we will help you. The biggest thing we can do is process their consents quickly and on time.
What do you predict Tauranga will look like in 10 years' time?
That's a good question. I mean, if you go back to the early 1900s, Tauranga's been growing all the way. It was a trading town early on. It's now 121,000 people, on par with Dunedin, so soon we'll overtake Dunedin. We'll be the 5th largest city in New Zealand. But more importantly to me, I've always had this vision of a city for all ages, so people can have confidence as a little toddler all the way through to retirement years that there is a place for you in Tauranga City.
Visit tauranga.gov.nz to view the consultation document and for a submission form. Each year, the public from around the region and Hamilton City join together to enjoy the new Waikato show. We talked to event organiser Karina Dooley to find out what to expect from this year's show.
It's all about the community spirit. It's about showcasing what the Waikato region has to offer and bringing all the different elements of the community into one event that's really affordable for families to attend. Yeah.
You've got many different types of the exhibition for this year. Can you tell us what's in store at the Clubs and Creativity Showcase?
So the Clubs and Creativity Showcase has increased from 9 stalls last year up to 30 this year, which is really exciting. It's about showcasing the small clubs and groups that exist in the community that not everyone knows about. the computer club and the Scrabble club and the square dancing club and all those kind of quirky little groups that have a really good part to play. Yeah.
A really exciting part of the show is the Cultural Village. What goodies do you have in store for us this year?
Lots of really delicious food. I know that the Latin pastry people are coming back, and I know that the Moroccan wraps will be there. Tasty.
The Home Expo is always a hive of activity. What's happening in this area for this show?
The Home Expo is all about if you're renovating or building a house, talking to experts and getting some really good sound advice about what you can do in that area. Yeah, I know that they've got a prize worth $61,000 on offer. Yep, so I think people definitely need to come into that competition.
The Enviro Expo is a great part of the show. What's in store for us?
Yeah, so the Enviro Expo is really cool. It's got a stall on Kaivolution, which is recycling food from around the community and distributing it back to the people who have nothing. They've got lots of recycling tips and upcycling tips and how to save your environment, which is really important.
And this year you have a professional image consultant coming in to do 50-minute makeovers. What do these involve?
So people can go online and register to receive a 50-minute makeover on our website. And for that, the professional colour consultant will match your skin tone with the clothes that you should be wearing and the colours that you should be wearing. They'll do your hair, they'll do your nails, and just get some really great advice about how to feel good, empowered about yourself.
And this year you have a competition for the region's alpaca breeders. What does this competition involve?
Yep, so the Alpaca Calibration Show is breeders from around the North Island all coming together and judging their alpacas to see who's got the best alpaca in all of the different colour. There's 6 colours, and then who gets the supreme ribbon. Yeah, it's really cool.
And what type of entertainment is there for the kids for this year?
Yeah, so we've got stage entertainment, we've got colouring in competitions, we've got the interactive farmyard. The alpacas have got a public ring where you can lead an alpaca around and make it do this little obstacle course, which is really cute. The children's battles, lots and lots of kids' activities.
A jam-packed show not to be missed. The new Waikato show is coming to Claudelands Events Centre. For more information, head to waikatoshow.co.nz. Thank you for watching Central News. That is all from us tonight. We do post everything up onto our website, tvcentral.co.nz, and we also like to keep in touch with our viewers on Facebook. If you think you might have a story lead for us, email news@tvcentral.co.nz. I'll be back on screens tomorrow night with more stories from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. I'm Amanda Harper. Have a good night. Pō marie.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.